Hello, my name is Piet and welcome to my channel where we like to talk about creativity, design and online marketing. And you're watching the Sketch for Beginners series that shows you why Sketch is the preferred design tool for professional UI and UX designers. As you may know, learning a new application usually involves a steep learning curve and usually takes a bit of time. And time is not a friend. Fear not, I'm here to help you redeem the time and eliminate that lengthy learning curve. In this video, you and I are going to explore the Sketch interface together so you can get really comfortable with finding your way around Sketch and you can get up and running quickly and easily. Right, let's dive in, shall we? When you open Sketch for the first time, you'll notice the interface looks quite minimal compared to other design applications. That's the beauty of it. No floating panels, no overwhelming functionality. Just what you need to get the job done. Yeah. There are four main areas in the Sketch application that you'll be using and referring to all the time. They are the toolbar, the inspector panel, the layers list, and the canvas area. Right, let's take a look at the toolbar. The toolbar is located right at the top of the interface, and this, my friends, is where your design adventure in Sketch begins. Starting at the far left of the toolbar, you'll find the Insert menu. From the Insert menu, you can draw vector shapes, create text layers, import images, and create artboards. Essentially, anything you use from the Insert menu will be created on the canvas and reflected as a layer in the layers list. Watch as I create a shape on the canvas and see how it appears in the layers list as well. Also, you'll notice that the inspector panel has also changed and provides us with options to change the properties and the styling of the layer. You'll also notice that some of the actions in the toolbar is now enabled. This is enabled when a layer is selected. For an in-depth look at the toolbar, please watch part 3 of this video series. Next up, I want to introduce you to artboards. Now, artboards are not really part of the interface as such. However, artboards is something you'll use all the time in all your projects. Artboards are actually a type of layer that you create from the Insert menu in the toolbar. But this layer is a little different. Why? Because unlike the normal shape layers, artboards is actually the container for your design. Let me explain. Let's do a practical little exercise. Pretend you're designing an interface for an iPhone 8. To start, you'll have to create something that represents the screen size of the iPhone 8. The first step you'll take is to create an artboard by selecting the option in the Insert menu. As soon as you select artboards, you'll notice the inspector panel lights up. Now, in the inspector panel, you'll notice several artboard size options. These artboard sizes are various screen sizes and various devices that you can select from. Let's select the iPhone 8 option. Voila! There you have the right screen size for your design. Let's create a layer so you can see how they behave in an artboard. So let's go to the Insert menu again. Select the rectangle tool. I'm just going to draw out the rectangle here about the same width as the artboard. And let's create a text layer too. Let's select the rectangle and let's move it around the artboard and see how it behaves. Notice how the artboard is masking the rectangle. And that was a quick overview of artboards. For a more detailed tutorial on artboards, please watch part 4 of the Sketch for Beginners series called Understanding Artboards. Now that we have some layers on the artboard, let's take a look at the inspector panel. The inspector allows you to change the positioning and styling of your layers. When I select this grey rectangle, I want you to notice how the inspector panel adapts and now displays a bunch of options with which you can change the styling of your rectangle. Now let's pretend we want to make a button out of this square. First, let's change the color. To change the color, we need to go down to the color picker. Now here's a blue I've already predefined and which I particularly like. So now I'm going to change the fill of the rectangle. Now let's play around with the rectangle's properties. Let's give the button a width of 315 and a height of 64 pixels. Let's also give it some rounded corners, and I think a radius of 10 pixels will do just fine. The next thing I want to do is position the button in the middle of the screen. For that, I'll use the align function on the inspector panel. Now let's get rid of those nasty little gray borders. And yet again, we go to the color picker. Actually, we can just untick that box. There we go, no gray border. Now let's select the text layer. Once again, notice how the inspector panel adapts so we can apply styling and properties specific to the text layer. Now let's move this text onto the button and let's give it a white color. And let's maybe make this text a little bold. There we go. And let's maybe change the text to something a bit more call to action like. And we can position it in the middle. Well, I think our button looks pretty decent. For an in-depth look at the inspector panel, please watch part 5 of my Sketch for Beginners series. Next up, a quick look at the layers list. I'm not sure if you noticed, but did you see the layers list get populated on the left here when I created the artboard, the square and the text layer? So what's so significant about the layers list, you might ask? Well, it helps keep your designs organized. Let me demonstrate with a quick example. Let's duplicate this button we've created. I'm just going to select all of these layers, copy and paste, and drag the button down. I'm going to make this button green. And I'm going to make the label say buy now. Can you see what just happened in the layers list? If you can imagine having tens, even hundreds of layers in your design, I think you can see that it can get really messy really fast. Now watch as I create a little order. I'm just going to group each button using the toolbar action. I just selected all of those layers and I'm going to use the group action. The same for the green button. Did you notice what happened in the layers list? It actually creates a layer folder. You can rename these folders. Let me give these folders names quickly. So the blue button, I'm going to give that a name. And the green button. There you go, all nicely organized. And that is a quick overview of the layers list. For an in-depth look at the layers list, please watch part 6 of my Sketch for Beginners series. Next up, let me introduce you to the Sketch canvas. The first thing you may like to know is that Sketch's canvas is infinite in size. You can have hundreds of screens on the canvas and still add hundreds more. Navigating around the canvas is super easy. You can use the scroll wheel on your mouse or the trackpad to scroll in either direction. You can also hold down the spacebar and click and drag to pan around. Lastly, if no object is selected, you can also use the arrow keys to pan the canvas left and right, up and down. Zooming in and out of your design is something that you'll likely do very often. You can simply zoom by pressing on the plus and minus buttons next to the zoom icon in the toolbar. You can also click on the icon or hold down the Z key on your keyboard to enable the tool. Click to zoom in and hold down the Option key to zoom out. With the zoom tool selected, you can also click and drag anywhere on the canvas to zoom the viewport into that area. For an in-depth look at the canvas area, please watch part 7 of my Sketch for Beginners series. And that concludes our introduction to the Sketch interface. If you found this video useful in any way and you'd like to know more about Sketch, design, creativity and online marketing, please make sure you hit the subscribe button somewhere around here. I'd appreciate it. Thanks. Cheers.